it's a big package. Yeah. Hi everybody, welcome back to Viper View. My name is Victor, and today we're going to take a look at Lil Nas X, Montero, Call Me By Your Name. We're going to look at the video, kind of get some thoughts behind it, some analysis, and see what we generally think about it. So this video has blown up. It's literally everywhere. You can't watch like 3 TikToks without getting one about this, at least for my For You page, and I have a very gay For You page. Everywhere, like I see it everywhere, and my husband constantly sings it around the house, but he just sings it in the most annoying way possible, which is call me by your name, call me by your name, yeah, call me by your name, over and over and over again. It's on the news all the time because of the controversy behind the Nike shoes and the whole video stuff, and Christians being completely outraged about this. So it's literally everywhere. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. And if you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. Nothing here is going to be like super groundbreaking. A lot of people have done analysis, and I've seen a lot of them. So I just wanted to give my input on it. So let's get into it. So we start with the introduction, Lil Nas X, Montero, Call Me By Your Name, with a quote, "In life, we hide the parts of ourselves we don't want the world to see." And this applies to everybody, but specifically for LGBTQIA plus community, it's even more true. We tend to hide things about ourselves until we feel safe, and that's why everybody's coming out story is an important story in their life, because as you grow up, you're told that, or at least when I grew up, I was told that being gay was a bad thing, and being gay was a negative thing. And don't get me wrong, this wasn't told to me by my parents per se. My parents never outright said, oh, being gay is evil. That never happened in my family as far as I remember. But there was always the indication of gays being considered less than. I hope you don't hear that. There's someone cutting grass outside or something. I hear like a saw. So I hope you don't hear it. If you hear it, I apologize for that. But we're going to kind of power through it. As I was growing up, I never really heard that from my parents. My dad, to give you some context, my dad is kind of religious, my mom isn't, and neither of them really flat out said that being gay was wrong, but it was kind of implied in certain things when you watch movies, the reaction to my parents watching movies, my parents' reactions to seeing gay people on the street and things like that. You could interpret negative things. You could interpret that they didn't approve of that lifestyle, even though they never flat out told me that. It didn't help that I went to multiple different schools growing up. One of them was military school, and the other one was evangelical school, which both very actively advocated against homosexuality. And especially the evangelical school, they spent a good time discussing how being homosexual was bad. So this is something that we learn to hide from everybody, not just your parents, but your friends, your family members, even to yourself at times. Some people, including myself, grow up knowing that they're different and understanding what gay means, but not wanting to be that. So you say you're not it, and you try to convince yourself that that's not something you want to be. So yeah, you end up hiding yourself all the time. And I think everybody has gone through that experience. I don't know if that still happens now, even though I'm pretty sure it does, because, you know, bigotry and prejudice against LGBTQIA people is better, but not exactly perfect. So a lot of people tend to have prejudices against our community, the alphabet mafia, as you will. Growing up, I always felt that, and I remember my first experience coming out was telling someone that I had a crush on them, and then being relentlessly bullied after that. So yeah, not a positive experience, my first coming out, but I get it. What Lil Nas X says hits really home. Like, starting with it hits home that there's stuff you hide. This video is beautiful. Even though nothing is what I would call photorealistic, everything is very highly stylized. It feels like I'm going into a video game. I love the whole imagery of it, the Greek architecture, the beautiful psychedelic colors that everything is, the water, everything looks fantastic. Also catching multiple glimpses of Lil Nas X's face everywhere, which highlights the fact that this is inside his mind, maybe, that this is basically his interpretation of the world and how he sees himself in different things. So we start with a snake going up to Lil Nas, who is playing guitar, and the snake takes shape of Lil Nas. All the parts are played by him, but basically the snake turns into him, and it acts as his temptation. So if I were to interpret the first quote with this, adding this to that quote, I think it's things that he's hid away, he's like suppressed from himself, are trying to show themselves and trying to tempt him to rediscover himself, I guess you could say. At least that's my interpretation of it. He's scared of it, he's running away, and again, Lil Nas's face is everywhere, and it looks like the whole world is trying to seduce him in some way. Like the faces that Lil Nas X is making to himself, they're all seem kind of seducey, which I don't know if that's a play on his pride or his narcissist instincts. Like everybody has a little bit of narcissism in them. It seems like the flower might be a narcissist flower, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And Lil Nas X is running away from it, so that could be his homosexuality trying to like show itself, or his inner self trying to get him to face the darker aspects, or darker, what he might interpret as darker aspects of himself, and he runs away from it. He suppressed it, now they're coming out, so he's running away from it. Just pausing here, something that I'm thinking about in terms of interpreting this is that, to me, this seems like when he was suppressing that feeling for his entire life, and then now that it's coming out in full force. So when you think about it this way, it's a lot of gay people, at least from my generation, or at least from what I remember growing up, is a lot of gay people were very suppressed during high school or during their childhood and teenage years and adolescence. And then once they decided to accept their homosexuality, they accepted it 100%. They completely flipped to a different mindset. They became something different, more authentic. So they completely embraced it. And since they didn't have that experience in high school of expressing themselves like straight cis people do, they express it when they're an adult, and suddenly it flips from 1 to 100 in one switch. And this is what it seems like. Everything around him is turning into this aspect of it. One weird comment about this whole thing is Lil Nas X's running here is so weird to me. Like, he's literally running in place, and you can tell that he's running in place, and that's a little distracting for me. Like, I'm looking at it, I'm distracted by this whole running in place thing. So the snake, Nas snake, the snaky Nas, catches up to him, or at least shows up in front of him, and ends up finally seducing him, officially seducing him and turning him into that dark side. And you can see that his eyes seem entranced by this, like he's fascinated and he's moving towards that homosexuality aspect of it. That's what it seems like. But as you guys all know, accepting yourself doesn't necessarily mean the world accepts you as you are. And especially with us, there's a lot of prejudice, a lot of negativity behind us. And we can face a lot of trials and tribulations in our life because of this, which is a huge argument against anything being a choice. Like, who would choose to have a harder life? Who would choose that? I like the makeup of the snake person. Although you can see the like application areas of, especially the lip part. I can't tell where anything starts or end in the face except the lip parts. Like, you can tell the area around the mouth has the raised edges. I'm not a makeup expert, so I don't know how you would hide that. Maybe not show it such a close-up, or maybe blur it out using like CGI. You can immediately tell, especially when the light's hitting it, where the different tones change. I really like the weird lips thing. I'm a snake. I might be reading into this pretty deep, but the snake seems to be hypnotizing him with its third eye, which would be your mind's eye, right? So it seems to be like opening his mind's eye, opening his perspective and things. So he's officially seduced by the snake, and he's accepting himself. Here Lil Nas focuses on a tree that has Greek writing on it. It says, after the division of the two parts of man, each desiring his other half. So this is about the myth where humans were originally merged, soulmates, and they were in one body. So two people in one body, and the gods were envious of that, so they split it in half. And then everybody's constantly trying to find their love, their soulmate, because they were split off. This immediately, when I didn't know what it meant. I don't read Greek, but when I read about it and read the quote, immediately made me think of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. He in that play or in the movie, he has a song specifically that talks about this myth in its entirety, and it has like cool animation where you have like the two parts being torn apart by a thunderbolt, by Zeus's thunderbolt, and it kind of explains what this is. And he let out a laugh, said I'll split them right down the middle, gonna cut them right up in half. And it's not heteronormative kind of thing, because it could be two men or two women or two men or a man and a woman, and they were broke apart. So there's no like, it's saying that soulmates come in all varieties, not just the typical het variety. After the tree segment and this whole explanation, we go into Lil Nas's judgment. So society does not approve of his new lifestyle, of who he is, so they judge him, and everybody's in blue and he's the only one in pink, kind of representing his homosexuality, while everybody else is kind of like the normal, even though they're fabulous normal, and everybody's wearing denim clothing, which might have a significance or might not. And after being judged, they decide to stone him, and they decide to use butt plugs for this. So in the certain image, you can see that silver butt plug hits him in the head and kills him. So he dies. He goes to heaven. He's ascending to heaven and ascending to an angel. This is where he's criticizing religion, in the sense that he's told his whole life that he's going to hell because of who he is, and when he shows that in a video, people are upset about it. I mean, if you're gonna condemn people, then you should be okay with them expressing that, even though he expresses it in his very unique way. So the way he expresses it is he's ascending to heaven, a stripper pole suddenly appears, and then he grabs it and he rides that stripper pole down to hell, which is, great. It's my favorite part of the video, to be honest with you, but I wish we had more of it, because I saw a video of Lil Nas practicing his pole dancing, and he knows how to work that thing, and I don't think they show him doing it a lot in this video. Like, we don't see a lot of it because of the camera angles, so I would have liked to see more of him strip dancing, or pole dancing, strip dancing. What's strip dancing? I would like to see more of him pole dancing to show his skills. Now, one thing I have to mention here is my husband and I we've been talking about whether or not Lil Nas is stuffed, because that's a huge bulge, and I don't know if he's actually stuffed or not. It seems like he is. If it doesn't really matter either way, it's just something that again, it's like the running in place, something that immediately attracted my attention. Like, wow, that's a big package. Yeah. So now he's approaching the kingdom of hell, I guess. He approaches Satan, and instead of, being scared or anything, he just decides to give Satan a lap dance, as you do. Lil Nas X grinds on Satan, who is also him, by the way. And the makeup for Satan looks fantastic. The only thing that I find weird about the scene with Satan is that Satan has no expression. So you can't interpret whether or not Satan's being seduced by him or not, because he just looks like, the entire time he's like this, which is fine. But I kind of would have liked Satan to look at him or act like this is working. After doing a lot of bumping and grinding on Satan, decides to murder Satan by snapping his neck, and then steals his hair crown, and Lil Nas becomes the new ruler of hell. I've seen a lot of interpretations of this. I've seen a lot of Christians complaining about it, like, ooh, you're grinding the devil, think of the children, blah 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 blah. First of all, if you're letting your children watch videos that you don't approve of, then that's your problem. Be a parent. control what your kids watch, or at least not even control it, explain it to them. If you're so worried about what they might interpret from this, then talk to them about it. Don't try to control the world when it's your own reason, your own life that's out of control. Control your kids, figure out what to do, be a good parent, talk to them, express that, this is fine, this is an interpretation of something, and everything is up for interpretation, and everything's up for artistic creation. There's nothing out of limits in terms of expressing yourself creatively, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. And here, the only person literally being represented in this video is Lil Nas X. He's not including anybody else in this video, so he's not hurting a single soul here, and you have a problem with that. That's your problem, not his. And you need to back off, in my opinion. I've heard a lot of interpretation about how, like, what all this means. In all honesty, I just think he's embracing the darker aspects of himself, or what he considered to be the darker aspects of himself, and he's not only embracing it, he's owning it. He's becoming that. Do you know what I mean? So he is not characterizing evil. No, he's not characterizing being gay as evil, because if you can see, there's literally no suffering being seen in hell. It's just hell just is. Darkness just is. So I don't think he's interpreting it as something negative. He's just saying, this is what everybody told me it was negative, and I'm embracing it. I'm owning the shit. And I think it's very clever. Now, in terms of the song, I don't personally, when I heard the song originally, and I still think that when I hear the song and I interpret the song, I kind of interpret it as a man being in love with a person who's not really willing to accept themselves, someone who's in the closet or just doesn't want a relationship. And he's like, we've all had that unilateral crush, someone that you like or love, and then that person doesn't reciprocate unless it's behind closed doors or it's away from the public. So someone's on the DL but you're not, and it becomes like a thing, and it's a terrible feeling and experience. But I think that's what the song is kind of alluding to. I don't know if I'm right. That's what I interpreted from it. Long story short, I think it's a great video. I love the graphics of it. I love the meaning behind it. I think there's absolutely nothing offensive in this video. That everybody needs to calm the hell down. Like, calm your tits. Nothing's bad here. Chill. And in general, good job, Lil Nas. I mean, you don't need a good job from me, because you have 96 million views right now as making of this video, so you're doing just fine. You don't need my approval. Now, another thing that I wanted to highlight, and this is something that I really like about Lil Nas, is how active he is in social media, especially TikTok. I follow him on TikTok, and I constantly see new videos from him, and he's like promoting people who are promoting him, I guess you could say. Like, if you take something with this video and do something interesting with it, or something with the song and you do something interesting with it, he reposts it in his page, boosting those people up, which is something great. And he even offered a prize, a $1,000 prize to whoever figures out and correctly identifies what he says at the end when he sounds like he's scatting. Whatever you might think of Lil Nas X or the video or the song, he's a marketing genius. His social media interactions, the way he's feeding off all the controversies, like the music, the Christians being angry at the music video, the Nike suing Mischief for the Nike shoes that have a drop of human blood, the Satan shoes, I think they're called. So all those controversies have created a perfect storm of publicity, making this song a hit regardless of whether you like it or not. So he's a freaking marketing genius. I'm impressed, and I'm happy that this is a thing that exists, because I think we need more representation of gay culture that isn't the stereotypical gay best friend or sterile homosexuals. Like, people who are more flamboyant, people who are more in your face with their sexuality. Like, we are not going to hide who we are just because it makes you uncomfortable. No. So I really like this, and I hope this influences future generations to be more expressive, more out there. Because the only person that you hurt by not being your true authentic self is you. So be you, right? I wish I could express myself more. I'm just naturally like this. But yeah, so that was Lil Nas X, Montero, Call Me By Your Name, my analysis, my interpretation of it. Again, if you haven't seen it, see it. If you've seen it already, see it again. It's a bop. It's a catchy song. So that's it, guys. That's all for me in terms of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think of the song. Is there any other piece of media that you would like me to view, listen to, review, and analyze, whatever? And let me know. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.